about 97% of the fan base, I guess, would say that Kentucky basketball had a good year, considering everything that happened, everything that went on, how everything went down. We would say that we had a decent year. Not everybody's going to say that, of course. That's why I couldn't go 100%. Thinking that Kentucky basketball was a successful year by losing, and we had injuries and all this kind of things. Kentucky basketball losing 12 games this year, I think it was. Is that really acceptable to lose that many ball games? So here we are now, because the second season has started now. The first season's over for Mark Pope. The second season has already started. Once we lost to Tennessee, the first season ended, the second season got started immediately. The clock hit 0, season's over, and what happened? We started a new season. That new season starts with recruiting, and Mark Pope has already brought in one player, Cam from Tulane. And when you think about Tulane, it's not one of those teams where you sit back at night and wonder, man, is Tulane going to win the national championship this year? No, that's not that team. Does that mean Cam's not going to be a good player here at Kentucky? Not at all. That's not what I'm saying. I'm getting to the point of where is Mark Pope recruiting mid-major players, and we had some players and they performed this year. We won some games this year that, in my view, you know what I'm saying, we got some good wins this year. But is that going to be the recipe moving forward, is to go recruit mid-major players? Is Mark Pope going to have what it takes between him being a coach, selling Kentucky? Because now you got to sell Kentucky now. Back in the day, you didn't have to sell Kentucky. Kentucky was what it was. You got to have NIL. So now the tables are really turning. Now everything is changing as far as how do you get a young man or a young lady to go to your school and play basketball. It used to be you could just walk into somebody's house, be in Kentucky, and they just fall into your lap. That is gone now. We won some games this year with some mid-major players that we really enjoyed, that we really rejoiced about, that we really celebrated about. But do you think Mark Pope is going to have the ability to bring in some big-time basketball players from big-time schools when they hit the transfer portal? Is Kentucky no longer that school? I wonder. I know that we are out there looking at all possible players. Now, look, does that mean that mid-majors don't produce good players? I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all. There's been some good. I think Antonio Reeves came from Jackson State or one of them schools. Dalton Connect came from a small school. The guy that went to UConn, he came from a small school. Well, St. Mary's is not really that small. But, in a retrospect, St. Mary's is small. Is Kentucky going to have to rely on going to get the mid-major kids? And if so, is that because Coach Pope would much rather have guys that fit his system particularly? And if that's so, is he saying that I don't see many guys from big-time universities fitting my way of playing, my way of coaching? So I have to go down to the mid-major schools to get some of those guys? And if so, does it work? Is that the answer? Is that how we win number 9? Because the fan base is getting antsy. The fan base is ready to see another championship. The fan base is ready to see another SEC title. That's just what Kentucky is. Love it, hate it, it's completely up to you. But the fan base is expecting that sooner than later. Some schools, they just happy just to make it to the Sweet 16. Not Kentucky. We want to win banners. We want to win championships. So does Mark Pope going to be able to go out there and truly get a big fish? I think about a player like Ortega. Hopefully, it's been word he's coming back. It's been word he's not sure. I don't know. Until I see something completely concrete, unless you guys already know, leave it down below that Ortega is coming back to school next year at Kentucky and he's not transferring out or he's not going to go pro. But what kind of player do you bring in to play with him? Jasper Johnson's coming in. He can play ball at the high school level. He hasn't proven that he can play in college yet. You got Caden Lewis. He can play basketball. He hasn't proven that he can play ball at the next level. You got Marino. He's coming in. He can play high school basketball. He hasn't proven that he can play college ball. So with that being said, what kind of player do you see bringing in that can play alongside of Ortega? Ortega don't necessarily have to be ball heavy, but we know that at a lot of times when Ortega gets the ball in his hand, a lot of times he's just going to take it to the rim or he's just going to take a shot. That's just what he does. Is Mark Pope going to be able to put more shooters on his team again that can complement what Jasper can do, what a Caden Lewis can do, what Ortega can do? Is that going to be the case this year? And does all of those players have to come from mid-major teams? Is that where Kentucky's at now, where we're getting guys only from mid-majors? You know, he got a couple of 5-star players in here. And look, I'm gonna just be real, and this is just my take. We don't know what Ament's gonna do. We don't know what school he's gonna go. We just don't know. That's completely up in the air. I know Marino is actually selling Kentucky to him. But if we don't get Ament, that's not the end of the world. For me personally, I love having guys come in who's already experienced college basketball, who know what the grind is about college basketball. I like those guys. Can we win championships without a couple of really, really, really good 5-star players? No, I don't think we can. Do we need a whole team of them? I don't think we do that. I don't think we that neither. But we have to see, because now it's really about putting the right pieces along with the players that's already there. I mean, at the end of the day, Coach Pope said that Travis and Noah is not going anywhere. Is that lip service? Is that out of obligation to the state of Kentucky to keep 2 Kentucky kids on the team in year 2? Are we going to see a major growth in those 2 that can complement even more? We know that they was thrown into a hard situation this year, and if we're all being honest, if we didn't have any injuries, those guys probably wouldn't see the floor a whole lot at all this year. So it's a blessing that not that the guys got hurt, but it's a blessing that these guys was able to come in as freshmen and get as much playing time as they did. Because now going into the sophomore year, they're not trying to see who they are. Now they trying to improve on what we saw from year 1. Can they make the growth? Did they get into the weight room? Are they doing better? Can they play that better defense? Are they going to be stronger? And when it comes to conference play, how are they going to perform? The good thing about the SEC is not that it's not going to be good anymore, but a lot of the big-time players that made up the SEC, they're all moving on. They're going to be gone. With that being said, a new class is coming in. It's a new way of doing things. How is that going to pan out for who Kentucky is trying to be in year 2 up under Coach Pope? Is this the season? Is this the off season? You know, everybody talks about, well, he's going to get a full recruiting cycle this time. Is it going to take a while before he really fills his roster? Is he going to take his time? Is he going to let people go through the NBA draft process and then see who's going to come back out of the draft and who's going to hit the transfer portal if they don't decide to go back to their regular teams and they don't stay in the NBA draft? It's just probably going to take a while. We're probably going to have to sit back and get comfortable. Or do you feel like Coach Pope is will he rush the process just to fill a team? Because for me, I'm okay if he takes his time to fill the team, to get the right pieces in it and not just settle just to have a team. I think he understands Kentucky too well to understand that a 12-loss season for Kentucky is in this time, in the circumstances, was acceptable. Moving forward, Kentucky fans, we're not going to be that forgiving if we're losing 12 games, if we're losing 9 games in the SEC. Those are just things that's not going to be acceptable by most of the Big Blue Nation. It's just not. So where does Coach Pope go to get his players? Is he settling for mid-level schools, or is he holding out and waiting to see who comes back from the NBA draft and doesn't put their name in it and still wants to transfer schools, and who can he pick up to go? And my last question is, how many players do we actually need? How many do we need? A lot to be seen, a lot to unfold. My man Jimmy's going to bring us some more recruiting videos as he gets it. I just had to come to this because as we continue to do recruiting, I see things out there that we're still trying to talk to mid-level schools. And I'm just wondering, is that the new standard for the Wildcats to just go off the mid-level players? Is that how Kentucky wins number 9? I don't know, but I know you have your thoughts. So leave them down below. Go Cats.